I want to talk to you a little bit about why it is that I moved to Thailand and what makes me stay. So I've been here for nearly 10 years now. Moved here in 2016 when I was 28. It's now 2025. I'm 37. My wife is Thai, and we've got a little daughter, and soon to have another little baby later this year. But before I even met my wife, when I moved here in 2016, I pretty much decided that Thailand is the place where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. So the reason why I moved here in the first place was I was living in the UK and I was doing a job that I was really unhappy with, and I ended up getting quite depressed with my life. It wasn't just my job, it was other stuff as well. But I basically ended up walking out of my job one day and just never going back. Now, I was quite depressed at that time and at a bit of a loss of what I should be doing with my life. But I'd been to Thailand on holiday a few years before that in 2012, and I'd really had the adventure of a lifetime. And in fact, I remember when I was at this job that I didn't like, I remember sitting at my desk looking at the price of condos in Thailand after I returned from that trip. And so when I ended up leaving that job and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, one day in 2016, I ended up booking a return flight to Chiang Mai. Now, I'd never actually been to Chiang Mai before. I'd just been to Bangkok. But I'd heard that Chiang Mai was a beautiful city. It was affordable. So I booked a return flight, and the return flight was like 2 months later, and I never got on the return flight, and so I've been here ever since. And I came here with I didn't have any possessions at that time. I'd sold everything. And so I came here with a bag on my back, just carry-on luggage, a few t-shirts, my computer, and that was it. And I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. I'm definitely not recommending that. And by the way, if you have problems at home, coming to Thailand is not going to solve your problems, because the common denominator with your problems is you. And so I'm not saying that Thailand is the solution to your problems by any stretch. However, having said that, when I arrived in Thailand, I really did feel a sense of, this is where I'm supposed to be. As cliched as that sounds. And it's hard to really pin it down to any one or two or even three things. But I'll try and list a few things. So the first thing that you really notice compared to the UK is the friendliness of the people and the openness and the sense in which the people approach day-to-day interactions with strangers in a default friendly way, which I don't think we have in the UK, at least not anymore. I think that's something that we've lost, unfortunately. And so that's a big part of it, is the friendliness of the people. And if you stay here long term and you integrate yourself into the culture a little bit and you learn the language, Thai people will really open their arms to you. And that's not to say that you'll be accepted as a Thai person, because that's not going to happen if you're a foreigner. But you will be accepted and welcomed into their culture or their family if you get married. And just the way that people interact with each other, you know, just strangers, they call each other, the words that they use to refer to each other. If it's a stranger, you call them like brother or sister or uncle or auntie. And so it just gives day-to-day interactions that sense of friendliness. Another reason why I love living here is the food and the food culture. I absolutely love Thai food and the variety of Thai food and the flavors and the spices and the different regional specialities. It's fantastic. And the culture of food is really exciting and vibrant. So especially at night time, when if there's any space on the pavement or if there's a little square, you can guarantee that there'll be a little night market set up or a few stalls selling street food. Just sitting by the side of the road. But the quality of the food, just the general standard quality of the food is excellent. Even just the side of the road noodle stalls. In fact, they're some of I would much prefer to eat at a street food place rather than a 5-star restaurant. Not that I've ever been to a 5-star restaurant in Thailand, or in any country for that matter. And it's so cheap, the food. 40, starting to get a bit more expensive actually. Maybe not 40 baht, 50, 60 baht for a bowl of noodles or a plate of rice and curry or something. 50, 60 baht, it's, £1.50. So it's very cheap, the food. And the cost of living in general is another reason. So food, of course, is very cheap. Eating out, we eat out several times a week. In fact, I rarely cook anymore. Even though that was quite a hobby of mine when I lived in the UK, was cooking. But, food is so cheap here, it's sometimes more expensive to buy all the ingredients and cook at home. And the cost of living in general. So rent, I lived in a place for about 5 years in Chiang Mai. A nice condo, big swimming pool, modern, a gym, 1-bedroom apartment with a balcony, and it was 10,000 baht a month, which is about, 250 quid? $300, something like that. So it's very, very cheap to live here. I think, to be fair, I did get a very, very good deal on that room. But, you know, for less than £500 or dollars, you can have a really, really nice apartment. Compare that to somewhere like London, where you need to pay like, well, I don't know what it is now, £2,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of London. So that's not to say that everything's perfect and rosy out here, because it's certainly not, and there are downsides, having to deal with visas and immigration. And in Chiang Mai we have the smoky season, which is coming up soon. That's going to be February, March, April, May probably, where they burn all the dry crops, and so it's very, very, very polluted for several months of the year. So that's, you know, it's not to say that everything's perfect here, but on balance, I absolutely love it here. And I don't think I'll be going home anytime soon. Not to stay permanently anyway, just for a visit. So, maybe you can drop a comment and tell me if you agree with some of the things that I said, or what are the reasons that you love living in Thailand. Let me know. I'll see you next time.